الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ثم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم غلبت الروم في أدنى الأرض وهم من بعد غلبهم سيغلبون في بضع سنين لله الأمر من قبل ومن بعد ويومئذ يفرح المؤمنون رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي Amin ya Rabbil Alameen. Inshallah, in this probably less than 10 minutes, I want to share with you a really interesting depiction of two surahs together in the Quran. The two surahs that we've gone through today in Salat. We've started Surah Luqman, the 31st surah, and right before it is Surah Rum. And these have a very interesting relationship with each other. But I'll talk to you a little bit about the beginning of Surah Rum first. The Prophet ﷺ was giving the message of Islam in Makkah, and the Muslims had not yet come into contact with the Christians. So the Prophet ﷺ had not yet given any da'wah to the Christians or the Jews yet. But actually, even before we came into contact with the Christian and Jewish community, the Muslims were optimistic that when they meet the Christians and the Jews, they're going to be interested in Islam more than the mushrikun of Arabia, the Meccans, because at least the Christians and the Jews know about prophets, they know about books, they know about akhirah, they know about angels. These are not new things for them. This is things they've been taught. Okay, there's some inhiraf, there's some changes here and there, but at least most of what the Prophet has to say is very familiar to them. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the Muslims were optimistic. Actually, they were so optimistic, there's an ayah in the Quran about their optimism. When the Muslims got to Medina, they were extremely hopeful that the Christians and Jews will very easily become Muslims. فَيَقُولُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى أَفَتَطْمَعُونَ أَنْ يُؤْمِنُوا لَكُمْ. Are you just hoping that they're going to accept Islam? They're just going to accept what you're saying? Are you becoming overly optimistic? But anyhow, the point I want to make is, so far, the Muslims have hopes that these are just Muslims that just don't even know it yet. The Christians and Jews are just Muslims and they don't even know it yet. And to even fortify that further, the Prophet ﷺ used to pray in the direction of Al-Aqsa up until now. So they didn't even see themselves as a separate entity yet. And so much conversation in the Quran, even in Meccan Quran, dedicated to Musa alayhi salam. 70 plus passages. So all of these reasons, we identified with the Christians. We identified with the Jews. Now, the Meccans, they did not identify with the Christians and the Jews. They thought of them also as an extension of the Muslims. You people are the same. That's why in the Quran, they don't just say kafarna bil Quran. They don't just say we disbelieve in the Quran. وَبِالَّذِي أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ. We just believe in what came before it also. We don't like the Quran, we don't like the Torah and Injil either. We don't like anything. That's what the mushrikun said. So even they saw us as kind of one team. Now what happens in the nearby region, the Roman Empire, the one superpower of the time, and the other superpower of the time is the Persian Empire, the Iranis, Al-Faris. And the Persians used to worship fire, and they used to have idol worship also. So they were similar in religion to the mushrikun of Makkah. And the Romans had become by this time a Christian nation. So they were similar, at least in some respect, to the Muslims. So, and they were having a war for about 12 years. When the Prophet ﷺ was about 31 years old, a war began between the Romans and the Persians. This is before Risalah. He hasn't even become a messenger yet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this goes on 12 years, 12 to 14 years, even after he became a messenger. So he's about 45 years old. He's been a messenger for 5 years now. And then what happened eventually is that the Persians, the Iranis, they defeated the Romans. And not only did they defeat them, they conquered a good part of what is Turkey today. And one of the capitals of Christianity used to be Jerusalem at that time. They actually had changed its name to Ilya. They had changed its name, and they had made it the capital of Christianity. The Iranis took it over also. And one of the great capitals of the Roman Empire left was Constantinople. And they almost conquered Constantinople. So they got almost to the capital. Now if your enemy forces reach almost into your capital, that means you've lost pretty badly. So the news came to Arabia. And they heard that the Iranis won and the Romans lost. So they went to the Muslims and said, look, our team won, your team lost. So they started using that as because this was entertainment to them. Even today, for a lot of people in the world, the news is not serious stuff. The news is what? Entertainment. Just like you're watching an action movie, or you're watching a comedy show, let me just listen to some news. It's not because you're going to do something about it. It's not because you're going to, it's going to affect the way you do things on a daily basis. It's just become side entertainment. Just like that, even back in the day, the news to them was just entertainment. And interestingly enough, in the next surah, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. SubhanAllah. It's not, مَا هَذِهِ مُصَادَفَةٌ. This is not an accident or a coincidence. In the very next surah in Luqman, Allah says there are people who purchase entertainment so they can misguide others from the path of Allah. But regardless, I want to tell you a little bit about this incident when they said to the Muslims that your team lost. And the Muslims felt bad too. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu put a wager. He said, and by that time betting was not haram yet. So he says to one of the mushrikun, I bet you 10 camels. Because Allah said in the Quran, this surah came down, غُلِبَتِ الرُّومِ فِي أَدْنَى الْأَرْضِ. Rome was dominated in a nearby territory. And they're going to, even after they have been dominated and crushed in this way, they will make a comeback. Allah said it in the 5th year. After a 14-year war, the Romans have finally been crushed. So they were holding the Persians back for 14 years, and now it's over. And the Quran says they'll make a comeback, no problem. فِي بِضْعِ سِنِينَ. Between 3 and 9 years. Bid'ah in Arabic is more than 2 and less than 10. So 3 to 9 years. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq makes a bet with one of the mushrikun. Says, I bet you 10 camels. 3 years, the Romans will make a comeback. The Prophet ﷺ corrected him and said, the Quran says bid'ah, which means it could be 3 years all the way up to 9 years. So you know what? Make it a 9-year wager and increase it to 100 camels. Increase the bet. So they agreed. But now the thing I want to share with you that's really beautiful is Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَيَوْمَئِذٍ يَفْرَحُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. هذا هو إعجاز القرآن. This is the miracle of Quran. Allah says, and within these 9 years, the Muslims are going to be extremely happy. When the day on which the Romans win, the time when the Romans win, the believers will be extremely happy. Now what do you think? Why will the believers be extremely happy? Because the Romans won, right? But Allah says there's actually something you don't even know. That's why Allah says in the ayah, لِلَّهِ الْأَمْرُ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَمِنْ بَعْدُ. It's before and after Allah owns all authority. Let me tell you. This was the 5th year of the Prophet's mission, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Add 9 more years. What is the year now? 14th year of Risalah. This is the 14th year. The 14th year, exactly at the time that the Romans won again, was exactly the time of the battle of Badr and the Muslims defeated the Quraysh. Allah said 9 years before Badr that on that day Muslims will be extremely happy. SubhanAllah. He didn't just talk about the Romans winning. Allah even talked about the Muslims winning. And they didn't even know. They thought they're just going to be happy because of the Romans. But Allah Azza wa Jalla even informed them they'll be happy because of the Battle of Badr. So when they go back and read the surah now, when the Sahaba, because back in surah, it was revealed 9 years ago. When they read it again, their eyes start tearing. SubhanAllah. They say, what we read in Surah Al-Ahzab, صَدَقَ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. Allah and His Messenger spoke the truth. The Quran is true. This is how they experience the power of the Quran. And then Allah used this, and this is the last thing I'll share with you, Allah used this event to say something very beautiful. This is a miracle. And anybody who sees it in 9 years, it's an impossible comeback for the Romans, and how could the Prophet have known, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? It's incredible. But Allah in the rest of the surah that we heard today, you know what He does? He says, that's not the real miracle, that's just one small thing. There are so many miracles all around you. You don't even pay attention. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُكُمْ خَلَقَكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Out of His miracles is your marriage, your spouse, the fact that you get up every morning, that you're able to go to work, that you see every single creature on this earth that is alive has hunger, and every single one of them is fed by Allah. Now that's a miracle. If you think this is a miracle, this is just one thing. There are so many other things you should have been appreciating all along about Allah. But you have to wait for something like this to happen before you say Allahu Akbar. It's beautiful how the surah transitions into the ayat of Allah, the gifts of Allah all around us. And so the last comment now, what kind of person does not benefit from the gifts of Allah all around them? A person who's immersed in entertainment, who's so lost in entertaining themselves between the music and the movies and the video games and the card game or this and small talk and nonsense, if this is what their life has become, how are they going to appreciate the ayat of Allah? Who's going to do that? Who's going to even look outside at the sun and say, SubhanAllah, Allah still held it up. Every single night our soul is taken. Every single night our soul is taken. And every single night the angels ask before it's brought back, Ya Allah, what about this one? You want to send it back? You want to, pull the plug, or should we keep the ruh? And every night Allah gives permission to the angel, okay, let him live one more time. Every night. This is mentioned in Allah's book. This is a reality of our life, But so we don't even think about it because we're too immersed in entertainment. Watching movies all night. Oh, it's Ramadan, so after Taraweeh, we're up anyway, so might as well entertain ourselves a little. And then barely waking up and then passing out again. This is our life, subhanAllah. May Allah Azza wa Jalla make us of those who wake up this Ramadan. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ni wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-Hakim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.